everyone, and welcome to the Even Stevens Ranked Podcast, the podcast for all things Even Stevens. I'm Brittany Butler.
I'm Ethan Brim.
And today we are back with another wonderful cast and crew interview. We're so excited about this one. Today we have with us executive producers and head writers Marc Warren and Dennis Rinsler.
Hey guys.
Great to be here.
Great to be anywhere right now. So, yeah.
Hey.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Honestly, yes. Yeah, so I guess we can jump right into it. We usually like to have you guys sort of introduce yourselves and kind of give a rundown of how you got into the entertainment business and, of course, how that led you to Even Stevens. So which one of you wants to start?
Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, this is Dennis. You can tell it's me. I have the thicker New York accent, probably. Marc and I met in college. We were studying to be elementary school teachers.
Oh.
One day when all the people in our program were talking about the curriculum and how they were up till midnight studying, and Marc said, I was up till midnight watching Women's Prison with Ida Lupino from 1955. I said, I was up watching Women's Prison from 1955. That was laughable. It was horrible. And we laughed so hard about how terrible it was that we kind of bonded on our sense of humor. Then we taught elementary school for 11 years until a third friend said, let's go out to Hollywood and write screenplays.
Oh, my gosh.
And Marc, what happened?
Wow.
Well, you jumped a few things there, but...
That's true. All right.
Went straight from elementary school to Hollywood.
We were best friends, and there was a time when our wives weren't getting along very well. So we enjoyed ingesting certain substances. It was the 70s. And so we were looking for an excuse to just hang out. And so we said, you know what? We're writing. We're going to start writing. So we started writing articles for some men's magazines and some drug magazines, like it was called Rush magazine. And then we got published in National Lampoon. We got 3 articles published in Lampoon, and it was like, this could actually be like a career. This could be a real thing. So we got very serious about it, and we wrote a screenplay about bad teachers, which is what we were. We went out to California over a spring break, and we actually sold it and made enough money that we could quit teaching and move out to California and start a career.
Wow.
We weren't bad teachers. The system was bad.
We were a little negligent, but maybe not bad.
Well, we were classic underachievers. Let's face it. We were lazy. We brought laziness to a new art.
So you were more of the Louis Stevens end of things here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We related so much.
Nothing wrong with that.
Almost every writer related to Louis. You're always on your report card. It always said not living up to potential. So
Same here.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many report cards. Yes.
But I remember when we sold that screenplay, we went out. We had gone back to teaching, waiting till somebody bought it, and somebody did. We came back out, and our third friend had a stack of $100 bills, and he was dealing them like cards. We made like $30,000, and that's how much we made in 3 years of teaching. So we were like, this is definitely more fun. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we packed up the families and moved out.
Was that a pilot or a film?
No, it was a script about teaching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. We taught elementary school, and the script was how the kids were great and the teachers were all crazy.
So that kind of makes sense as to why you would go into writing like a children's TV show, or at least working on one.
Yeah, the teachers were crazy kind of in Even Stevens too.
Yeah.
The weird thing was that it was kind of like a mash of urban education. When we came out here, everything we wrote, all our sample scripts were all crazy, edgy, drugs and sex and rock and roll. Like we were the edgy, crazy ex-teachers. And then we landed on all these family shows, Full House and Raven and all these Disney shows. Like our whole career was basically those kinds of shows. But what we learned was that people who love those kinds of, kids love those shows, but writers, like adults who love those kinds of shows, were not the writers that we wanted to hire on those shows. We wanted to hire writers like us that were, so when we read a sample script that was crazy and edgy and out there, that's who we would bring on as staffing.
Right.
we read a script by Tom Burkhart. We said, we got to bring this guy in. He was writing for MTV, some kind of series called Pirate TV. And it was so funny and edgy. And we said, Tom, what do you think of Full House? And he said, well, I got to be honest, it's not that great. I said, you're our man. Come on in.
There was definitely a tonal shift of Full House, like the last 3 seasons, which actually I'm more nostalgic about because that's when I started getting into it. My grandma loved Uncle Jesse, and she made me watch Full House with her. And those last 2 or 3 seasons, I'm really nostalgic about. They have kind of a really cool tone to them. I remember the Beach Boys came in too, and there's all kinds of cool stuff happening.
Well, surprisingly, we took over the show the last 3 seasons.
So
there you go.
So that's why. So we tried to make it a little edgier, a little more twisted.
Yeah.
That's why with Even Stevens, we had a chance to write for smart kids with a twisted sense of humor like us. That's what we were looking for.
Yeah.
And I think we found you guys.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Yeah, you found me at least. Yeah, definitely.
So how exactly did you land on Even Stevens? Because it was already a show before you guys got involved, right?
Right. What happened was we had been on this long-term deal at Warner Brothers. We did 7 seasons of Full House. Then we did all these WB shows, The Parenthood, and a show we created called Nick Freno, Licensed Teacher, which nobody remembers, but ran 2 seasons. And
I remember.
I was trying to find clips of it online. I could find a few, but that's
it was that's a whole other podcast. But so we were at Warner Brothers 11, 12 years, and then those family sitcoms and everything were kind of gone. So we got a call from our agent. Disney Channel wants to meet with you. We're like, Disney Channel? Oh my God! Said they're firing these people on this show called Even Stevens, and they showed us the pilot, and we're like, I don't know. Then they told us the money, and we were like, we really don't know. But there was something about the chemistry about Shia and Christy that we really responded to, and we said we'll do it, but we got to hire our own staff completely, and we need 8 weeks to kind of revamp the show. When we met with Sean McNamara and David Brookwell, who are the executive producers, and all the Disney Channel people, and they went, great, just do it.
Well, what happened, Mark, is they called us into the meeting, and they said, what would you do as a typical story for Even Stevens? So we had a couple that we worked on, and we said, what if Louis wanted to get a job, and he decided to be a dog sitter, and he has 20 dogs in the house running wild. They go out for a walk. They're dragging him through the park. He loses some. The people are going crazy. He said, that's it. That's what we're looking for.
Wow.
But we didn't bring that as the first one on. Once we got in and we met with the writers, you start spitballing and coming up with ideas.
The first story was Foodzilla.
Yeah.
That was the first one we did.
Episode 7, yeah. So when you said that Disney showed you the pilot, was that the A Week First Week one or the Swap.com?
It was Swap.com.
Yeah, it wasn't. They showed us the pilot and a couple of the first 3 or 4 episodes, and we just felt that the potential really wasn't there. A great premise with sibling rivalry and great casting, but it just wasn't cohesive. It wasn't together. So we read the original pilot script that Matt Dearborn had written, and it was so different tonally. It just had this offbeat, weird, kind of quirky humor. And then we met with Matt, and we hit it off. So we said, okay, let's get rid of everybody, but we really want to work with Matt. And Matt, we stayed together the whole run of the show.
Yeah, of course.
And also what happened with that first group, according to Disney, was they kind of ran out of steam. They ran out of stories.
After 6 episodes?
After 6, they weren't sure. I think by the 6th one, All About Yvette, they had him riding around on a toy train for 20 minutes. And we were like, what's going on here?
Louis
in the middle.
Just filling space,
Yeah.
So we had to come on strong. And Foodzilla was the first one out of the box. And also we were looking into Louis's character. The thing with the old Groucho Marx jokes and the nose and glass, it wasn't quite working. So when Mark wrote Foodzilla, we wanted to show that he's really creative and he has a lot of energy and good ideas if he's motivated to do the thing.
Exactly.
If you tell him what to do, he may not be interested, but if he's excited, he'll come up with a really creative solution. And that one was a hit. And that really worked.
That is kind of the theme too. Like, I mean, you see that one, and then Almost Perfect was kind of the same way. That's kind of like the running theme of the show, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much too.
And they told us originally it was a show about an underachiever and a family of overachievers, but they wanted to focus more on the sibling rivalry, the brother-sister, which worked great because Christy Romano was just so funny and such a great foil for him. It was just so perfect, the two of them at each other all the time. And Shia was amazing. That we knew right away that they had something.
Right.
We had seen him play a mascot on Freaks and Geeks, but that was about it. He didn't do much.
A few seconds.
Right, a few seconds. But he had a naturalistic style of acting that was not like the typical, all the Disney shows are like, gee, Mom, this is the greatest birthday ever. It was so stiff.
Yep.
But he was just like a natural, like a real guy. And we really responded to that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Just to build on what Dennis was saying, I think Christy is underappreciated on the show. Now, I was going back and looking at some of the episodes, and she is so solid and so strong and so believable and has so much heart and connects with Lewis, but also, with the rest of the family. And she is very sneaky funny that she doesn't get enough appreciation for, I think.
Yeah.
And a big part of the success of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's a great straight man. Even just kind of how she delivers certain lines, I'm like, man, just her attitude when she says it is spot on, and just in contrast to Lewis, who's just a goofball.
Well, they both embodied their characters so deeply.
Yeah.
One of my favorite run lines is from one of the episodes you weren't on, but it was actually all about Yvette, which is one of our least favorite, like everyone's least favorite episodes, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just when, I just love her delivery when Yvette's like, well, do you love me or do you love me? And she goes, oh, I don't know. It's just too close to call.
She was great at that.
It was just so spot on.
Just great.
So
and then in that same episode, she goes, oh, didn't you, or was that the one where she goes, no? And when Lewis asks,
that's Take My Sister.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's Take My Sister. That's right.
Yeah.
I can't believe your depth of knowledge.
That's great. We're so impressed.
Oh.
The way you analyze it, like Citizen Kane. I mean, it's incredible.
Oh my
We
God.
love it. It makes us appreciate the show more.
It's the Citizen Kane of Disney Channel shows,
Well,
if we're being honest.
that's very nice. Thank you.
It really is.
That's sweet. How sweet. But I'll tell you, the hardest thing about filming Shia was that you're not allowed to laugh. When you shoot a sitcom in front of a live audience, you want laughs. You want them screaming.
Right.
You tell them to laugh. You put in more laughs in post-production. But in a film camera show, it has to be so quiet. And he would say the funniest things and we'd be holding our mouths, trying not to laugh. And a lot of times some of the scenes got ruined because we would laugh so hard. We'd get angry. Nobody laugh. And he has to be funny in silence. It's very strange, but he was great at it.
Yeah,
and we didn't use any fake laughs. We would put
No laugh track. Yeah.
music to pop the jokes, musical stings to pop the jokes. Yeah.
Ba-doon-da.
Yeah.
Right.
So you guys, you guys work mostly on the multi-camera with the studio audience and stuff. Is this the only show you guys worked on that was single camera?
One of the first shows we did was Fast Times.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Amy Heckerling and Alan Rucker, and that was a single camera show.
Okay.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High was the movie.
Yeah,
our first network job. So we started on with single camera, and we love single camera.
I guess I'm trying to figure out how do you think it would have translated if there was an audience, or do you think it might have made it worse, or do you get?
I don't think it would have worked because when you're shooting in front of the audience. The network executives are sitting over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're shooting single camera, it takes a week. They don't have a week to hang out with you, but when it's going to be Friday night, we're doing the show. So they would, after every line, they would listen to the audience and say, well, they're not laughing loud enough. Punch up the joke. Make it funnier.
Yeah.
He didn't fall hard enough. Make him fall harder. So you're milking the audience.
Yeah.
It's not really the network executives. When you're doing a multi-camera show, it's everybody. It's the writers. It's us. If we don't hear a laugh from that audience,
That's true.
You become kind of a laugh whore. You really need to get. You got to get the laughs, and it's a different media. You're doing a live stage play, basically. It's just a different dynamic, completely.
Yeah.
That's actually, that kind of leads into this question that I've always had. It might sound weird, but as comedy writers, how do you know something's funny? Like, you know what I mean? Like, every time I think about sitting down to try to write something funny, it's like, how do you know what that is and that it will land? Like you just said, like if you were in front of a live audience and it doesn't land, it's like, oh, you must have like a bunch of alternate lines or something like that. I don't know. Like, what was that whole deal on Even Stevens, especially since there's no audience to give you any sort of immediate feedback?
Well, you're musicians.
Yeah.
So it's very much like that. It's rhythm. It's just a rhythm. It's just in you. You just feel what's funny. You just kind of know instinctively. But then we also have a writer's room.
Right.
So we trust each other. And of course, what's funny to me may not be funny to everybody. So it's just instinct, and you have a table read.
Right.
So, and what if something may be funny, the actor may not be able to deliver it.
Yeah.
It may be a great joke. It's just not in their voice. So it's a chemistry, it's music, it's rhythm. It's all that.
And also sometimes you get lucky, like a guy like Shia will make a straight line funny. The line says, I'm out of here. And when we wrote it, we didn't think it was going to be funny, but the way Shia would say it, somehow it was funny. It just, he would add a little twist to it, a little attitude.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you do trust your gut.
Yeah, I think delivery has a big part in what makes Even Stevens so funny.
100%.
Some of the smallest things, like you said, a lot of Shia's funniest things are a facial expression or, like a physical movement. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
And it doesn't feel like set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline, like how you probably might need to accomplish in a studio audience sitcom. But like this one, there is that freedom and that kind of like room for just making subtle stuff funny.
Exactly.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be these big jokes.
Right.
And Shia would add little things. Although sometimes he would always want to scratch his ear or sniff something, smell something in the room, or pick his nose, to show he's very natural. But we would say to him, Shia, if you're picking your nose in every scene, you're going to be known as the character who picks his nose. You don't want to save it for a good moment. When you're being yelled at by your mother, that's a good time to pick your nose. Don't do it every time.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. He does like a lot of this.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he does like a lot of ear stuff. Yeah.
We cut out a lot of that.
I think he throws in a lot of you knows to make it sound more natural. Like he'll be saying the line and then it's just like, like it's something I was really going for, like blah, blah, blah. He just throws in you knows, I feel like.
Yes, we did not script the you knows.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. I was like,
there are a lot of you knows in this script.
Another word he would throw in constantly is buddy. I'm assuming that wasn't written, because almost there'd be a few episodes where I'd be watching it and I'm like, whoa, he's saying buddy way too much.
I don't. It's interesting because that's Tom Burkhart, who was one of the writers. That is kind of his rhythm, like buddies and things like that kind of stuff. So there might have been some of that might have been scripted, and then Shia might have picked up on that and kind of enhanced it and used it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like you guys were back then. Did they call you guys like the showrunners or?
Yeah, we were the showrunners.
I don't know if that was like the official term is like executive producer. I know, but
right.
Yeah,
a lot of the titles are meaningless.
Yeah, okay.
Even when you see a script and it says written by, it doesn't necessarily mean they wrote every word. Yeah. They might have written the first draft, But sometimes we would hire outside writers to give them a chance who weren't part of the staff, and they just missed the tone of the show, and we'd have to change every single word in the script. And we would still give them the credit.
Yeah.
Or we would write a script, and then when we brought it to the writer's table, we'd come up with a better idea. And the group would write a better idea. So you never really know who wrote what joke.
Yeah. I think your biggest misconception, because what I've heard on the podcast, I love this writer.
Yeah.
Or I love this script.
Okay.
And I mean, early on, like in pre-production, we'd give writers a chance to go off and write a first draft. But honestly, maybe 75% of the scripts were group written at the table all together, and we just rotated names on them. So I couldn't even tell you who wrote what joke or we worked as a team, and a lot of shows work that way. Most of the shows we've done work that way.
The theme for a story many times would come from the writers. Like Tom Burkhart early on said, why don't we do a show where Shia wants to sleep in a bed for charity? And we said, that really crystallized what the character is, where he would come up with all these great creative ideas where he would do nothing, but he would get the job done. Took laziness to a new level.
Yes.
And that was Easy Way.
Yeah.
And that was Tom's idea. And sometimes I think the great Sarah Cunningham and Susie Valandry Freeman wanted to do that Ren was a secret karaoke singer. They would pitch the idea, and we would run with it and add to it, and then they went off and wrote that. But you never know in the end who did what.
Oh yeah,
it's all a team effort.
What was like a typical day or week like for you guys in you guys' position, as far as in the writer's room and then like on set and the table reads? Like, how did that all go? Yeah,
there was a lot going on. We were very lucky in that we had Brookwell and McNamara, Sean and David. They did a lot of the production stuff. But every week, if we were in production, first the director would come in, we'd have a tone meeting. Because every show had to kind of look alike, even though we had different directors. So we would sit and go through the script line by line to get the tone of it and give them notes, pre-notes. Then we'd have a production meeting with props and wardrobe and hair. Then one of us would probably go to editing. One of us would be working the room. We'd always have a writer on the set. So there's a lot going on all the time, casting. But luckily there were two of us, so we're able to kind of break off.
But the writing is always going on. The writer's room is always working. That's the first thing. You start by coming up with ideas. You just put them on index cards. Lewis wins a beauty contest, or Beans wins a beauty contest, whatever. Any crazy idea, you just put it up, and then you break it down into an outline. You say, okay, what's the beginning, the middle, and the end? Somebody goes off, writes a first draft, we bring it back to the table, and we go line by line. Yeah. Could this be funnier? Could this be different? Could this have more heart? And then you do that, and then when you actually bring the actors in and they read the script, you take notes. That joke wasn't so funny, or this was funny. Let's do more of this. And then you go upstairs, rewrite the whole thing. And then you go down. Lots of times, pages are changing. We're giving them new lines while the cameras are rolling. Just we thought of something better, and then you just run out of time. You could just keep doing it for a year. You'd get the greatest script ever, but you only have 2 weeks altogether for each script.
On multi-camera shows, you would pitch lines between takes. You'd have all the writers huddled around and try a different joke because the audience didn't laugh. Not so much single camera. Once in a while, there was always a writer on set. If something wasn't working or if an actor had an idea, we were very collaborative. We love collaboration. So if, we would do a take, and then if an actor said, hey, could I try it this way or try this line? Or, a cameraman would come up with a line, or the lighting guy or something. Why not? If it's better, sure, bring it on. We get the credit, so it's all good.
If it's funny, we do it.
Were you guys on set a lot, or like how active were you guys actually on set?
We were on set a lot. Of course, there were two of us. One of us would almost always try to be down on set. If not, Matt Dearborn would be down there. Mm-hmm. Later on, as we trusted people more, we kind of let the writers go for their whole week. When they wrote it, when it was their script, they would be on set. But we'd be up and down. We shot most of it all in the basement of this warehouse. So we were close by.
We were in a warehouse. We were next to Home Depot. We felt so out of it. It was like before us, David Hasselhoff was shooting Baywatch in there.
Yep.
But we had this building. We built like a fake front so it looked like a school. We would block off the parking lot.
With a school bus, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who wants to eat lunch next to a school bus? But it had to make it look like school. We'd bring out some picnic tables and we would just fake it like the front of this warehouse was a school.
Yeah, I always caught the strategically placed school bus.
Yes.
I was like, well, that school bus is always just sitting there. Okay.
It was blocking the freeway.
But you can actually, I think in Band on the Roof, you can see Home Depot. When they're
Most
on the
likely,
roof
yeah.
of the warehouse. You can see the big orange Home Depot stripe on the building.
After a while, we just kind of embraced it, and it's like, here's where we are, and good luck. If you can figure it out, good luck.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's awesome. I guess I'm curious, what kind of ideas were there that didn't make it to were there any cool concepts for episodes that you guys never ended up getting to shoot, but you wish you did?
That's a good question.
You know what popped in my mind, Mark? When we wanted to do the movie at the end, we went in and pitched a story that the Stevens family went on a cross-country trip and they went to Mount Rushmore, and Lewis was climbing and digging, and he broke off George Washington's nose.
Oh my God!
Right, yeah.
And everyone in the country was outraged. They're looking for him. And his friends meet him, and they're on the run. And the head of the network says, "Well, I just saw this movie, The Truman Show. Why don't we do something like that? As a matter of fact, why don't we do exactly that?" And he was the boss. He said, "Okay, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll give it a shot."
But ideas. When you're in the middle of production and you've got to crank out a show every week, you don't reject a lot. I mean, we rejected a lot in the room, a lot of pitches. But once we kind of locked into something, everybody kind of liked it. The network signed off on it. We tried to make it work. Sometimes not to great effect, but
yeah. Well, some were risky. The musical was risky. We didn't know if that was going to work.
Oh, yeah.
We were a little worried about that. It was different at the time. Nobody had done that. And then when Band on the Roof, we said we wanted to do a documentary style, like VH1 Behind the Music.
Yep.
They weren't sure about that. And we said, let's give it a chance. So we took a few risks.
Oh, for sure.
That's awesome.
We haven't obviously talked about that episode yet, but I think that episode is ahead of its time in the sense that it was doing a VH1 Behind the Music thing, but it's also now just like a mockumentary, which is, The Office, Modern Family, Parks and Rec, all have that feel. And that's one of the reasons why it's my favorite episode, because I don't know, I feel like that vibe worked for even Stevens.
Yeah, that's great. We had also, at that point, everything was kind of coming together, like production, writing, acting. Everybody was really confident. So we could pull it off at that time. And I think Greg Hobson directed that one. He was our editor, also brilliant guy, and he did an amazing job on that too. I hope I'm right.
You might be right. I just watched it last night. One of my favorite lines was Artie Ryan had to quit the Twitty Stevens connection because his mother made him take pottery lessons.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love Artie.
I love Artie.
He's one of my favorites.
He was great. We loved him.
One of the best bits in that too, which again is very I always mention The Office on our podcast, but it just has that feel where he goes in the interview portion where he's like, I didn't like the direction the band was going. Nowhere. Since then, I started my own band, Artie Ryan and the Funky Cats.
The Funky Cats.
I had some promotional material made up. Tom, you want a free one? And then Tom off camera, no thanks.
It was a Frisbee. It was a promotional Frisbee.
Yes.
This is amazing.
It's so good.
I love that.
Funny.
That was so funny. And we loved doing that one. And also because we got to go on the roof. That was fun too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was on a roof of a hotel and there was a phone up there and I made my wife call it so I could answer it and say roof.
Roof?
That's how we answered the phone.
Yeah, roof. Okay.
And Tugnut was grilling
tofu
vegan
dogs
up there or something.
That's awesome.
Everyone had a little secret life, that we just opened the door a little bit to, like, what is going on? Like, especially Tugnut.
I have so many questions.
Yeah. He was great. Jim Wise.
I also love the way Beans just knew the number for the roof. Like, he's the one that called the roof. Like, it's just, I'm going to call the roof.
And he had his cell phone, too.
With a hamster cage stuck on his head.
Yep. Piggybacking on the idea of, any ideas that didn't make it, are there any ideas you wish you wrote that you never got a chance to, or like after the fact you thought like, oh man, that would have been a good story for this character, or anything like that?
It's hard to say. By the end, we were running out of stories. You saw in Ren We Trust. We were running out of stories. So,
oh my God.
But, we needed another break to come up with new ones. Sometimes you're cranking them out, you leave no stone unturned.
What I always felt was, because ABC had Disney had bought ABC, and you make this a farm system. You have Shia, you have Christy. Let's age them up and do a show for the network and see where they are in high school or in college and follow them along. You've got a built-in audience. But in those days, there wasn't a synergy. They were just completely separate entities, and they didn't want to hear anything about, anything from Disney Channel to the network was just frowned upon. So that never happened.
And also they had a rule, 3 seasons and out, because they felt when the actors started looking old, the kids wouldn't relate to them, which we thought was ridiculous. And then after we did Even Stevens, we did That's So Raven, and we pushed to go over 100 episodes. So they caught on later that it's not over just because the kids are growing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there were so many, especially in the 90s, early 2000s. Almost everybody who was cast in high school movies and stuff were adults.
Right, yeah.
like what were they thinking? That like high schoolers wouldn't relate to a 30-year-old playing a senior? Like, and that kind of goes into something about the casting process, which I know you guys you were a part of, but Shia and Christy were already cast, so you guys came in to cast people like Bobby Deaver, Ruby, Monique. Is that?
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we brought them all in.
So, yeah, what was that process like? Because when we just covered Bobby's first 2 episodes on the podcast, wrapping up season 1, we were saying like he was older, like the actor was.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember how much older he was, but
well, I think Sarah and Susie took the lead on that. We would say to them, "Is he cute? Will girls think he's cute?" And they're going, "Yeah, he's really cute. He's really cute." So we weren't good judges of that, but they liked him, and we liked him too. He was sweet. He was cute. He was easily manipulated by Mandy. Always gets a man Sanchez. And
the problem with romances in kid shows is that you can only take them so far.
Exactly.
Obviously, they can't be sleeping together or anything like that. There can't be a natural kind of sequence. So you have to really go really slowly or break them up. I mean, the Tawny Lewis, that was a beautiful arc.
Yes.
And that the way that ended, I mean, that's one of my favorite episodes too. And we just doled it out little by little. And looking back on the pilot, or the little pieces of the pilot, that first look when he falls off the flagpole, and then to pay it off with the tapes at the end, that one really worked. But most shows we've done, almost every romance has been a fizzle.
When I was a kid, you want more of it though, right? So like when the kiss happened, I was like, oh my God, yes. I was like, because I was just super into that stuff. Just as, you probably know, I had a crush on Shia when I was a kid. So I was like all into the romance episode. And then they broke up at the end. And I was like, what? I was so upset. I was like, no, I want more of this. And then when the show ended with them finally getting together, I was like, no, I want more of this. So, but
you can't do stories, when they're going out with someone.
Yeah.
You can't do dating stories. You can't do crushes. You can't, it just cuts out so many storylines. Mm-hmm. So they're hard to do.
That's true.
I did like in the episode The Kiss when Shia got so jealous and so crazy that he realized at the end, I'm not ready to be in a relationship. This is too much for me.
That's one of my favorite parts of his character, actually, in that episode. I always say he's like oddly mature enough to realize he's too immature to do that.
It just drove him nuts, and he said, "I can't live this way."
Yeah.
And it was really nice.
That was beautiful.
No, that was a beautiful arc, and the end made me cry. I watched it, and I cry when I watched those tapes.
Every single time I watch that, it doesn't even matter. I could just watch it, just that scene isolated once, and I'm like, oh no, here it comes.
Were there talks about Ren and Larry being like romantic? Because we always talk about that. It feels like there's like a tension there, but
no.
I don't know if it was ever.
No, I think it was more competitive. Who's the smartest in school?
Yeah.
They were both ambitious and they both were very smart. Mm-hmm. So they were always trying to one-up each other. So we didn't think the romance thing would work on that one.
Because I think it was I think Raiders of the Lost Sausage is one that just really stands out as having that sort of tension.
When they were tied together?
Right. Yeah, that might have worked.
That one specific.
Another season. If we had another season, we would have done it. I could see it now.
Because Ty was on Christie's cooking show. I don't know if you saw that, but he was on and they were talking about Ren and Larry, and they were like, I feel like they could have dated. And they were like, yeah, they were soulmates. Yeah. If they would have gone to prom and they would have whatever. So
when we do the reboot, we'll definitely bring that back.
So then looking back, where did you think maybe was like, where did you think like the show was like, this is the sweet spot for the show? Did you think you were hitting that even at the end, or did you think it was in the middle, like somewhere, and then it tapered off? Or
maybe was it around the middle of the second season we felt like we were really getting it. We did a lot of good ones the first season that we like a lot.
Yeah.
And then the middle of the second season, I think we were hitting a few good ones.
I think also as the character, especially Shia's character, grew a little bit, became a little more complex. Like he wasn't really an underachiever; he was an other achiever. He just had alternate skills right. And we started finding those and respecting that a little bit more. And I think that helped the show, and also Beans. When Beans came in, it just gave us this weird little side gig, that we could play and have fun with.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest. One day the Disney executives came in, they said, we saw a kid on a tire commercial. He yelled out the car window. We got to make him a character on the show. We said, really? Are you kidding? And when they brought him in and Nat Dearborn told the story how we were thinking this is never going to work until he told his pirate joke. And we said, you know what? There was a rocket on him. So, okay, let's give this guy a chance.
Oh my God!
But I think we also have to give Joey Paul Jensen some credit for amazing casting. She brought all these people in. She cast the pilot, and she found Shia, and she found Kristen. I mean, there wouldn't be a show without her.
Yeah.
The casting was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really good, especially like when you guys brought in Ruby and Monique. Like those are two of my favorites, and then obviously Artie. And you got Tom, and everyone's played. There's nobody in the show where I'm like, this doesn't really work.
Yeah. When we were casting Ruby, we had that speech, this one's dating that one's brother and his sister, and this one's going to that one. And, we had 20, 30 people come in and read it. I think that was the only time it worked. Was when Lauren Frost read it. It was the only time she actually nailed it without stopping and starting and stuff. We said, oh, she's great.
She's really good.
And the New York accent. We love that too.
Yeah, so that was something she brought to the table.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
I'm dying. Well, she was on tour with Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they would Barbara would mention that she used to sing as a young girl, and they'd bring Lauren on, and she would do the young Barbra Streisand in the act. Mm-hmm. So she did the Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
And Monique just made us laugh. I don't know where that accent came from. Ran. She just cracked us up. We just loved it.
My mom does that all the time. She'll just break into a weird voice, and then she just goes, ran, out of nowhere. And I'm like, Mom, why are you doing this?
She came up with that. That was great.
You need to go lie down.
Yeah.
Right. She was great.
Sure, I'll go to the dance with you.
Sadie Hawkins dance.
Oh, my God.
Man, yeah, she was great.
I was just going to say some inside casting stories.
Oh, yeah.
Cynthia Mills
yes.
came in And Joey said to her, by the way, her husband is the president of the Disney Channel.
Really?
And we were like, you're kidding me. What if we don't like her and we reject her? But she was great. She came in with this intensity.
Yeah.
And we said, all right, we're definitely, no problem there hiring her. Yeah. That was great. But we were a little nervous for a while. And Mrs. Lovelson was married to Matt Dearborn at the time.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he...
Did not know that either.
And a former Miss USA.
No, Miss USA? Oh,
really?
Okay. Wow. And she was, and we were also, it was another one of those things where Matt said, I'm going to give my wife a chance. And we were saying, oh, this could go the wrong way. But she was lovable.
Yeah.
And we gave her the name Lovelson, and it worked out great.
And she got to be in the musical too.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was, we went to the moon.
Yep. That was quite a toe tapper.
Kelly McCarty.
Even, I was going to say, even Jeff LaBeouf, we just found out, was in an episode. I don't know if he was in more than just the Battle of the Bands, but he made an appearance. So.
He was on one of the auditions or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was on the line. Yeah.
To be in the band.
I mean, he was around quite a bit. And, I don't know if you want to get into Honey Boy, but we knew it was not great, but we didn't know the extent of, what Shia was going through and how he was able to come into work every day and be professional. And, with the stuff he was dealing with was quite remarkable.
Well, you know what happened? Toward the end of the first season, we started getting the feeling that Shia wasn't having fun. He seemed angry. I'm not doing that. He would say, I'm only here till 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock, I turn into a pumpkin. I'm out of here. I'm going to be a pumpkin. So we were saying he's not enjoying the job. And we called a child psychologist. And we all did a conference call. And the guy said to us, imagine you're 14 years old, living in a motel with your dad, and you're the breadwinner and he's unemployed. What do you think that relationship must be like? What do you think, how tense that must be, or how upsetting it might be for the dad, or for the pressure on the son? So after that, we said, you know what he needs? He needs a guy who's going to work with him. And we called him a dialogue coach who's going to run lines with Shia every day. A guy named Richard Lyons, who was a really cool young guy. I think he was in his 20s then. And he sat with Shia and he worked on the lines with him. And they became buddies. He was making films with Shia. He made some crazy lobster movie. They were running around the set. And after that, it felt like Shia was enjoying the job. And it changed the whole tone down there.
So that was after the first season, you said?
Toward the end of the first season.
Yeah, sometime, yeah.
And it was, and then when we saw the movie, we realized, oh my God, that situation was very tense and very, the pressure on Shia. So now I understand it so much better.
Yeah, that was an intense movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it difficult sometimes because I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter and stuff after seeing it. They're like, I can never watch Even Stevens again. I can never watch the show the same way. Like, how do you take comments like that? I mean,
I think the show was Shia's savior.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in a safe environment. Everybody loved him. They really did. And took care of him, and they were protective of him. And I think he was happy to come to work every day. When I see the movie, I don't say, I never want to watch this show again. I'm really proud of Shia for what he overcame, and he made a beautiful movie.
Yeah,
no, that's exactly how I feel about it.
It kind of put the show in a good light too. It kind of reflected what you're saying about Even Stevens too. Yeah, it was kind of like it was his savior. Like especially that one scene with his dad, or it was obviously supposed to be Tom Virtue, but I mean that was like one of the best scenes. Like he needed that in his life, I think.
Yeah. A lot of child actors say that their TV family became their family for all those years they worked together.
I know, that's what I wish I could tell everyone on Twitter that I see say stuff like that, because I'm like, no, like because that's how I feel. It came across to me just also from the people we've interviewed so far as well, just that it was a really nice vibe on set, and so it was difficult for me to think, oh no, I can never watch the show the same way again, because it just seems like that you guys created such a nice and safe environment, and especially today Shia only has great things to say about his time on the show. So
Yeah, there's he did this crazy art installation where he watched all his movies.
Yeah.
There's a part where he's watching the Even Stevens movie, and his face is just beaming, and he's laughing, and he's lighting up. So that kind of tells you that was just.
And he's crying. He's laughing.
Yeah.
Laughing to tears.
The other thing was, you talk about the environment there, and yes, we really tried to have a nurturing, fun. We had worked for a living, so this was great. We loved coming to work every day. But also, Brookwell and McNamara, Sean and David, also set a wonderful tone there. They would take Shia out surfing, in the morning. They were wonderful, really wonderful and nurturing, sweet guys. So it all kind of worked for us.
yeah.
And we would have him come into the writer's room and sit with us and crack jokes and pitch ideas and stuff like that. And he liked watching us to see the process. He was into it.
Shia, you mean?
Shia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You guys did have a couple of turns directing. Well, Dennis, I think you only did it one time, but Mark, you did a couple.
I did 2, actually.
Oh, you did 2?
2, yeah.
Oh, okay. On IMDb, it only had 1. But
I know. I'm gonna
yeah. What other one did you direct? Which other one did?
I did Gutter Queen and Beans on the Brain.
Yeah, Beans on the Brain was the one that was on there, yeah. So what leads you as a writer to, say, I want to direct this one? Because you guys wrote a big chunk of episodes. So, I mean, was there something about those 2 stories, or did you guys just not have a director? Or?
No, you know what? Well, I'd always wanted to do it. And having done all these shows, all these Full Houses and everything, and as the showrunner, you're sitting right next to the director. You're basically directing it. Like when the actors, between takes, the director wouldn't go talk to the actors. We would go talk to the actors on the multi-camera shows, And the director, so I said, I really want to do it, but I was really intimidated. And I had breakfast with Sean. And he said, let me tell you a little secret. It's really easy. It's not that hard. We had a great director of photography, Mark During-Powell. We had a great line producer, David Grace. We had great lighting, great sets. And as the writer, you know it so instinctively. You just know every script to your bones. So as it turned out, it really, if you do your homework, do your prep, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So I thank Sean for that.
Yeah, you do have a lot of people giving you a safety net, but you finally get a chance to have it just the way you pictured it. A lot of directors come in and they want to add some style to it. And as Mark said earlier, you can't have a different director with a different vision every week. It has to look the same. I think Savage Steve tried a few crazy things to change the look a little bit, but most of the time you have to keep it consistent.
Yeah, you're on the clock. I mean, you have kids and you've got this amount of time and that's it. You can't mess around too much.
Yeah. That's true. What was Donna? She did a couple, I think maybe just 1 episode, Quest for Coolness. Was that the only one she did?
She might have done 2.
1 or 2.
No, I think she did. She did Wombat Wove too. I'm pretty sure. I think.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Well, she was great with the actors. She, as an actress herself, she was a great actress. So she knew how to deal with the actors. I mean, if a guy was delivering pizza, she would make sure he had a backstory. We'd find out what made this character cry. She was very, very into it. She made everyone feel like they were part of it, whether they had a big part or a little part.
That's cool.
That's
So she was great.
That's cool. Oh, I have one for Mark. Are you the sole writer on Starstruck? I saw your credit on there, but
well, again, I was the writer, but
Oh yeah, that's true. I know we talked about that.
Everything's group written, everything's room written. So it was just kind of my turn on that one. Well, that was the BB Mac one.
Yeah, I was wondering kind of what was the process. Were they written into the script, or was it just a generic?
No, we got a phone call from Disney. Like, I guess they were on the record label or something. He said, you got to do something with BB Mac.
Yep.
I'm like, who? We never heard of him.
Yep.
And then we had to make, Ruby was like this insane fan, of this group that nobody ever heard of and nobody heard of since. Well, I mean, they were sweet guys and it was kind of fun. And I was able to hire my son's best friend to be the DJ on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Eddie V. who lives in Thailand now.
Because then he was also on, because I noticed too, like so many Even Stevens actors also appeared on That's So Raven.
Yes.
So many.
Yes.
Yeah, we would bring a few over. Yeah.
Like even Beans was on That's So Raven. I was like, this is insane.
And Fred Myers, Tom Grabowski.
Yep,
wow,
literally everyone. Beans' cousin Chris, Cynthia Mills, the DJ,
Right.
the guy who did the Look Smart Be Smart video for Donnie. He was also on TV on That's So Raven, being like a hypnotist or something. Yeah,
Right.
it was crazy.
We knew who we liked. We had people we liked, and they were fun to use over and over.
That's cool.
But I think actually you bringing up Starstruck, Ethan, that being the first episode that aired for season 2. We're about to go into season 2 next on the podcast. So I was wondering, there is a stylistic change, I think, going into the second season. It just feels a little bit more, obviously compared to the first season, it feels a little bit more polished, a little bit more bold. And me and Ethan were talking about it in our season 1 wrap-up episode, that I said that season 2 kind of feels like a very guy-geared season. At least to me, because it's Ethan's favorite season and probably my least.
I love season 2.
We're looking forward to talking about it because we have different feelings. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to know, like, what should we know before we discuss season 2? Like, what was the whole idea going into the second season? Any of those wackier things that sort of were brought to the forefront more? Yeah, so I guess just season 2 in general. What's up with that?
Well, I think there wasn't that much thought went into it. It just kind of, everything just kind of happens. But I think the one thing we realized was that Disney was leaving us alone. Like, we could do anything. And like, we'd have table reads, and this has never happened since, because as when we started doing Raven and all these other shows, it was note after note but we were down in, Marina Del Rey or wherever the heck we were, and they were in Burbank, and the shows were coming out great, and we'd have a table read, and they'd go, yeah, that was funny. I was like, holy crap, we can do anything we want. We can make Beans an alien. We can do, so we just started pushing things a little bit more, I think, creatively and visually and story-wise. So maybe that's kind of reflected in season 2.
And also, at the time, our competition was Lizzie McGuire.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the channel realized that the audience was slightly more girls than boys. Mm-hmm. So we were the guys show, and that was the girls show.
Exactly.
And when we did episodes like The Secret World of Girls, those were hitting with the guy audiences because it was, guy oriented. And the girls were in there. They were fun too, but that was from the guys' point of view, that episode. Mm-hmm. So maybe we did lean a little more on the guys.
Interesting.
But as Mark said, it just evolved. It wasn't a conscious effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely did. You feel that freedom too, with the storylines at least, especially in seasons 2 and 3, I think. But there's also like you said, you guys were hitting, you felt you were hitting your stride in season 2. Like the episodes were just tighter and tighter, and just from beginning to end, every episode feels just really, really good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
I love season 2. I'm an advocate for it. We go back and forth.
Again, it's not that I don't like it. Of course I like it. It's like, this is like my favorite show. But yeah, it's interesting. Our slightly different opinions on certain things. And I think it's definitely the girl guy thing. I think that's definitely a disconnect that we have.
Yeah.
About certain plots, certain things, because Secret World of Girls, nah, but Ethan's still like, yeah, it's the best, and I'm like,
I just remember watching it as a kid, and I was like, my best friend and I, we were like 12, and we were like, man, this is so cool, and it's ultimately harmless, but it ends up being harmless, but I don't know, there's just something about it, and it was the first episode with Beans, and he was one of my favorites, and. Mm-hmm.
We were going for laughs.
Yeah.
We were going for laughs, and laughs did take the precedent. But we also were thinking another story of Ren with a new boyfriend. Those aren't that great. The guys are never that funny. So we might have shied away. from that after a while.
And I think it makes sense, you say that, the biggest competition was Lizzie McGuire. Like, that show was already touching on a lot of that stuff. Yeah, it definitely makes sense that you guys would push, some more guy-centric stuff.
And Lizzie McGuire got the money, got the promotion. Mm-hmm. When they did a movie at the end, it was in the theaters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ours was just a TV movie.
I was going to ask, were there talks about the Even Stevens movie being theatrical at any point?
Well, we were pushing for it, but we already spent this much on Lizzie. And
it was the same year.
So we were always...
Yep, 2003. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, 3.
So we had to take second place, which was fine. We were in our own world.
I think the budget and everything ends up being very endearing looking back with the movie and everything. It's very movies. I think movies of TV shows always feel different anyway, because I remember as a kid the Lizzie McGuire movie always felt so different from the show, and the Even Stevens movie is too, but it definitely feels closer to the show than Lizzie McGuire becoming a pop star in Rome and stuff. I was like, what is happening?
Well, you definitely need a broader canvas for a movie and a bigger story. So
yeah,
I like the movie a lot.
Thanks.
But the lack of budget, it's definitely a charm, and I think the fact that Lizzie McGuire got the theatrical release, Even Stevens didn't. It only adds to that hipster quality of Even Stevens now. I think it's kind of more underground, and it makes me want to just vouch for it even more.
Yeah, I mean, we were not trying, like on Full House, you're trying to get the biggest audience possible. We would come up with some ideas and jokes. We say, are the kids going to get that? They'll get it eventually. Let's go for it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Some kids will get it.
I mean, and that's what adds to Even Stevens' longevity. Like I say all the time, I was, as a kid, the things that stuck out in my memory were the more slapstick things and the physical humor and Shia screaming and all this sorts of stuff. And then when I got older and I was revisiting some of those shows from my childhood, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is 10 times funnier than I ever would have thought it was. So I think that definitely contributes to, just the show holding up so well, was the fact that you guys did go for that stuff. I think in the long run, it totally helped the show.
That was our dream, that you would feel this way.
Yeah, well, mission accomplished, dream accomplished.
I have a random question. Do you guys remember a character named Lefkowitz?
Sure. Yeah.
Of course.
What?
The wild red hair.
Yep.
The mystique behind Lefkowitz has always intrigued me, and I just want to know, he never had any lines, but he was always kind of tangentially in the show. What was he? Was he related to somebody, or was he just a guy that you guys liked how he looked? And
we liked the way he looked. He was just kind of a running joke, and I'm trying to remember, but I think we did write him a line once, and he was so bad that we had to cut it out. So that was kind of the end of Lefkowitz. Or I think he asked I think he came to us and asked for a line.
No, wait a minute. He was in the movie. In the audience, when they're doing the graduation, we wanted to make a scene with hundreds of people, but we didn't have the budget for that. So we would take 20 people
copy
and
paste,
just duplicate it over and over and over, copy and paste. And then we realized Lefkowitz's hair is in every 4 rows. There's a giant Lefkowitz head. It didn't work. We had to get him out of there.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I talk about Lefkowitz, I always call him a stoner extra, because he was always just standing there as if he was just always on something or something.
Yeah.
His eyes were Napoleon Dynamite style.
A good foil for Shia just to play off, or
Right. Well, the thing with extras, and we don't call them extras anymore, they're atmosphere players, because they're not extras, they're part of the show.
Yeah.
And they would come in every week. We would get whoever you could get. Sometimes you can see 30-year-old kids coming in. You go, what are these? The guy has a beard. Supposed to be in 7th grade. It's terrible. Whereas, look at this crew we got. Put that guy in the back.
Well, the thing is, they have to hire, they can't hire under 18s. Because they have limited hours. So everyone in the junior high school is over 18, pretty much. Unless there was a specific scene where we really had to, like in a classroom where we would be close on kids.
Right. And we didn't have money to let them speak.
Exactly.
As soon as they speak, you have to.
That's what we say all the time, and I always feel bad whenever we say something like that, but I just can't help but laugh when there's someone and they just smile and nod and walk away, and we're like, oh.
Smile and nod. They're nodding. They're always nodding. And if you ask them to do any action, pick up a pencil. Oh, that's special business. You have to pay them twice as much.
Oh my
so
God.
we say, just stand there. Don't touch anything. Nod and smile.
So were you guys ever in an episode, like in the background or anything like that?
Yes, I was.
My picture's in a couple of you. What were you in, Mark?
Dennis was Congressman Charles Nook.
Charles Nook.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
The last one.
That's my picture. Yeah, Leaving Stevens.
No, yeah, you're right. Oh, totally.
In the final thing, I beat her by 17 votes. I beat.
I put myself in. Well, I didn't put myself in. The cast and crew said, you got to be in this. The first one I directed, Easy Crier. They said you got to be in it. So there was a little montage of everybody crying around the school, and so I shot myself crying, and I dabbed my eyes with my tie.
Yeah,
the most self-conscious, horrible shot. I have new respect for actors now.
That's wonderful.
No, totally. I know exactly what moment that is.
I'm also on the cover of Lewis's favorite magazine, Get Rich Quick.
Oh, okay.
That's me on the cover. Now, Tom Burkhardt would pop up in episodes as the peanut vendor. Like when Tom Grabowski's at the chess finals, there's a guy selling peanuts. I don't know why. That's Tom Burkhardt.
There's also a Peanuts guy in Head Games.
Yeah.
That was him too? He was just always the peanut guy?
Yeah.
Yes, a couple of times.
There might have been an original peanut guy, and then Tom took over.
The Tom Burkhardt in the was also the pole vaulter in the Phyllis Diller episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
in the background.
He's
the
first guy who actually does it, and he was a pole vaulter in college.
Really?
Right.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So that was probably where that storyline came from, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. He was
cool.
stiff for the next 5 years after that pole vault.
And then we said who would be the least likely pole vaulting coach, and Phyllis Diller, of course. So we got to work with a legend.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, by the way. Yeah.
She was like 85, knew all her lines. She was full of energy. She was great. We had a good time with her.
I loved the gag with her, which was the hold my eyelashes.
Yeah.
No, I was saying, then Lewis puts on the hair wig at the end and does the little dance on the.
Yeah, that was just some filler. We might have been short that episode.
Is that stuff ad-libbed, like stuff like that, or did you tell Shia, like, put on the wig?
I don't remember. I don't know.
He would occasionally grab something,
Yeah,
smell something, grab something. Now, also in the musical, the cowboy on the horse that Ren's watching, that's Sean McNamara on the horse.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Love it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just check and see if there's any questions. Yeah, honestly, without even actually asking them, we've already touched on a lot of questions people had.
Okay.
sure.
I know there's some questions about a reboot.
Yeah, of course.
There's always questions
about
about
that. Yeah.
Well,
We can't get, the strange thing is Shia never did a comedy after Even Stevens. Always such serious roles.
Yeah.
His latest movie is a heavy drama coming out soon.
Yeah, he'd be awesome in a comedy.
Yeah, we would love that.
And that's what I think is so interesting. Him being away from comedy for so long, it just makes me wonder, like, has he been flexing those chops, like, in other ways? Like, what it would be like if he did go back to a comedy after so long.
But he's funny, though.
Oh, yeah, in his interviews and stuff, he's still, like, super quick and funny. But,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of you. You're either funny or you're not, just as a person.
Yeah, he was a great natural comedian, and he channeled people he probably had never seen. I don't know, like, he did a lot of Kramer, like a lot of Michael Richards, like those takes, but also like Lou Costello and Jackie Gleason, and like he just had it in him. It was pretty incredible. I actually wrote a pilot script that I thought he'd be great in, and I sent it to his manager. He said Shia is not going to do any TV, but he sends his regards. He remembers you fondly. I mean, it's really sweet. But Yeah, he's just, I don't know, he's not doing comedies.
That's cool. How long ago was that?
That was like last year.
Wow.
And we had a couple of Even Stevens reunions with the writers and the staff, and he never shows up.
Yeah. I remember Christy was talking with E! News or something, and there had been a time or something where Shia was around and said he wanted to do something like that, but then it just didn't work out. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know. I think Matt is still in touch with him once in a while, so I don't know, but I haven't seen him.
Yeah, it's funny. Shia did that actors roundtable with Adam Driver, Robert De Niro, Adam Sandler,
Jamie Foxx, and Tom Hanks.
Yeah. And like Adam Sandler was talking about, what it's like to be a comedy actor, and Shia is just sitting there, and I'm like, can someone mention that Shia is like an amazing comedian? And then Adam Sandler said, and Shia, you started doing comedy and stuff, and he mentioned it, and I was like, thank you. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Adam Sandler brought up... Yeah, it's so crazy.
Which is funny because, like, Adam Sandler was one of Lewis's idols in the early episodes, right. And he had the Waterboy poster. And
That's right.
So it was kind of like a full circle moment to have Adam Sandler mention that Shia, did comedy.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
He's just on a different track now with the indie films and very successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quality films.
Matt said he, I guess his manager had mentioned he was looking for, like, the right comedy. He wanted to do it. He was looking for the right script, or I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully sometime. Yeah.
There's flashes of it and stuff he does, but
For sure.
Especially Peanut Butter Falcon was funny.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That might be my favorite Shia movie, I think.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I love that movie.
That was good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure you guys, out of all the shows you worked on, Full House is the one that gets brought up the most. But I'm just kind of curious how often Even Stevens just gets in, like, seeps in. It's
interesting. I work with a lot of young writers. I was running this Disney workshop called Storytellers for young writers, all your age, millennials and 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people, Full House, but the really smart guys and smart girl and women, and
that's right,
that they were Even Stevens fans, much the way you are. They really appreciated it, and so it's interesting, but more appreciation for Even Stevens, more affection maybe for Full House.
Right.
Well, the cool kids liked us, and that's what we liked.
Yeah, but it is really interesting to think about the kind of audience the show resonates with.
Yeah, it's just not for everyone.
That's right.
Which is fine. Yeah.
We found our people. We're happy. We found our people.
I think that's part of what makes it really special is that, it was so unique. That's definitely something to take pride in.
Oh, for sure. The fact that they gave us creative freedom, that's why it was special.
Yeah.
And why it's not like another one of those cookie cutter shows or those Disney shows. It was not to formula. And that's why it was such a fun experience for us.
And I think maybe that's why some people didn't latch onto it, because it wasn't the formula they were like used to, maybe.
Yeah, people kind of expect, subconsciously, I think they expect a formula. And when they don't get it, it kind of turns them off. But like you said, like the cool kids are the ones who I'm putting myself in there, are the ones who kind of, I think, notice that there's something just different about this, and that's a good thing,
Yeah, that's what we were hoping.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if the Disney Plus, like the streaming, was that like a long time coming? I don't know if you guys were aware of any attempts to release the show previously on DVD or streaming or anything.
No, I don't know. It had never shown up. They ran it for a couple of years on Disney Channel, and they would run the movie. They wouldn't run the show. And we always wanted to, and it was a favorite over there because I still work there. I mean, I did, after Raven, we did Cory in the House. Then I did Jonas and
oh my gosh,
Kicking It and Bizarre Bar. I mean, did a bunch of shows there, and the executives, we loved Even Stevens was our favorite. Like, why don't you run it? And they say there was never an answer. But I guess that now it's on Disney Plus, and it's getting some heat, I guess, again, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Definitely.
We had heard a story, and I don't know if this is true, but they said toward the end of Even Stevens, they sold the whole series to some company in Australia called Fireworks, and they had the rights, and Disney couldn't show it anymore. And I even sent away to Australia to get the DVDs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when they came, they were unplayable on an American DVD player. So it went into a different world for a while. They were trying to raise money at the time, but they probably now bought it back and it's back on. Not in the correct order, by the way.
No, it's driving us insane.
It's so annoying.
Yeah.
You see Beans, and then 3 episodes later, they introduce him for the first time.
Yep. Ridiculous. I don't know who is, asleep at the wheel there with that one, but
it's so simple. Like you just go on anywhere. You can go on Wikipedia, IMDb. It's all in order.
I know.
Because now, like, for people who are revisiting it, they're like, wait a minute, this is all out of order. Like, nothing's making sense. I'm like, oh.
I know. It's upsetting.
Yeah.
I mean, but that happened anyway with the original airing order. Like, we see Nelson.
Yep.
Right off the bat in the season 2 premiere, he's suddenly real good friends with Ren and Ruby, and then his official introduction is in Thin Ice a few episodes later.
I know,
which is just really weird.
Yeah.
I think we just assumed maybe Disney was like, we want the BB Mac one to be the big premiere, and they didn't even care.
That's true.
Episode. Most likely,
that's true.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that with streaming, people are just starting off by picking their favorites. Oh, let me see this one again. Let me see that one again. So they're bouncing around a little bit.
I think almost everyone jumped to the musical first, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Someone had a question like, why was there never like a soundtrack released with like the Twitty Stevens Connection songs or the musical songs or anything like that?
Lizzie McGuire got all the money.
Yeah, Lizzie McGuire got a soundtrack. Yep.
Yeah, she got the promotion. She got the soundtrack. She got everything. We couldn't get a T-shirt.
But I mean, those were really those songs were written for comedy.
Yeah,
they were comedy songs, and even though the musicianship was really good and the songs held up, I think they weren't supposed to be pop songs.
Yeah.
Whereas Lizzie McGuire, it was just a different animal.
Yeah.
They could have taken Sacramento Girl or any of the songs we'd done and made a full length recording and something soundtrack album might have worked. Yeah. I don't know. They just didn't think about us like that.
I didn't want to say that's what I figured, but that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Disney Channel also, I think they were kind of still sort of in their infancy. I think they were still trying to figure out how to market all these new shows and these new like IPs that they have. They weren't cartoons, which are like obviously those are a no-brainer, but like the live action ones, even Stevens, I think, was maybe their 5th original show after they started as a network.
Right. So. I think the whole the music thing was Hannah Montana. That just changed the world.
That's when it broke open.
Because we talk about it a lot, how most Disney shows always have some sort of gimmick. They always have, the pop star, the kid from the future, the girl who's a psychic, the family of wizards. There's like always something, and like even Stevens didn't really have that.
Normal kids, yeah.
And so maybe there wasn't really a way to capitalize on that or market that or something. And and like Lizzie McGuire also had a cartoon version of herself.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
They were able to put the cartoon on merch and make cartoon dolls and stuff like that.
But I think it also would have been a lot of pressure on us too if they said we got to have a hit song. We've got to make action figures. It happened on Raven, where we had big meetings with marketing people, and we have to paint her room a certain color because they're putting out Raven paint and bed sheets. And
oh my gosh.
I mean, it got crazy.
Pillowcases.
But for us, it was just make a little fun movie every week and have a good time.
Yeah.
So it was actually better.
Yeah, I think it'd be better that way.
Because I know you guys also did a musical episode for Raven as well, and I'm assuming that happened due to the success of Influenza.
Yes. Yeah.
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 I never saw that one.
You never saw that one?
Oh, well, Raven was kind of like after. I was going to high school.
Raven was after. Was after.
Honestly, though, I mean, Influenza is, I think, the premier Disney Channel musical episode if there were to ever be one.
Yeah. The music's so good.
I do love it. I love that.
And they had never done it before. It was a very ambitious undertaking. But Jim Wise was great, and John Coda, and we wrote a lot of the lyrics and the song. We had a cohesive storyline, and it all kind of worked. And it was about something. As silly as some of the stuff gets, there's always an underlying theme of, Ren, missing that day of school, and the message of you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be perfect,
Yeah.
And Jim Wise, Coach Stugnut, I don't know, he just must have had a musical background, because those were like regular Broadway musical tunes.
No, he definitely did.
They hold up today. He wrote some really great songs.
Jim's a great musician. He was in a band with Sean McNamara when they were kids.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, we got that rundown in our interview with him.
Yeah, he's great.
And we had choreographers coming in, and it really turned into a production.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's cool. Where was the mall from Quest for Coolness? Was that the Promenade?
It was down here. It was down near Playa del Rey, around that area.
Like the Redondo Beach one, right? That's the Redondo Beach.
The Galleria, the South Bay Galleria.
Yeah, it was south. Yeah.
Yeah. Was your toast in a real mall?
That was in a real mall. Yeah.
Same mall.
Probably. We would go to the same place. Once you have a relationship with these people.
Yeah.
And like in Quest for Coolness, they let us go behind the scenes, running through the back of the stores and the hallways and places like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that was their real basement then? The mall's real basement? Or
the basement was built.
Okay.
But the running through the halls and looking at the back way into the stores, that was in the mall.
Oh, that's awesome.
Was Fantasia a set, or was that a location?
That arcade, the arcade.
The arcade. The arcade from Easy Way.
Did we build? Oh, I remember it.
I don't remember.
That was one of the times we got censored, because Sarah and Susie, who were very edgy writers, they wanted to call the place the Fun Hole. Oh. And they said this. The Disney was like, "There's no way you're calling that place the Fun Hole."
Oh my God!
So we had to pitch Fantasia, and that worked. But I think we built that downstairs, and we brought in the worst video games. It was not that much fun, but
because we couldn't license anything, so everything was generic, public domain games.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's what we said in our episode about that. I'm like, it says virtual fun center, but it's the most basic arcade game.
You have trouble you have to pay for those kind of things. Like in Quest for Coolness, at the end, when you open Scabby's trunk, we wanted there to be all kinds of games and all kinds of amazing things. We couldn't get permission to do anything. What was free? Marionettes. Like he's selling.
And sponges. He had sponges.
Yeah. Sponges. We couldn't get anything.
Oh my gosh.
We had no money.
I had one more question. Do you guys know if the original pilot was is that anywhere now, or is that just
Well, we cut it up in pieces for a week, first week. Disney would not. They're not throwing anything out. So they came to us and said, "We got to use this footage. Figure it out." And it was a mandate. I mean, we had to do it, and we just hated writing that episode, but it actually turned out pretty well.
Like you hated writing the Ferris wheel stuff?
Yeah, we said, what do we do? And we had no money. Like we couldn't build any new sets. Like the whole thing had to be that stupid Ferris wheel. But it worked out pretty well, actually.
And I'm sure it's on a shelf somewhere at the Disney Channel, the complete pilot.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Where they everyone's last name is Spivey.
Yeah.
And we had to dub in Stevens the best we could.
Yeah.
Any chance of Nick Freno getting released?
Nick Freno?
You have to move to Argentina to see that. That's the only place it's playing.
10 years ago or something, I get a letter from my lawyer. It said they want to pay you $10,000 for all the rights to Nick Freno in perpetuity. And this is before Netflix or anything. We went, yeah, are you kidding? Of course. So maybe when the Warner Brothers streaming service starts or something like that, and I mean, maybe it'll pop up somewhere. There were some interesting people in that show. There, Mila Kunis's first show.
Yeah,
she was a kid in that show.
Yeah.
So it was a weird show. They didn't really let us do what we wanted to do.
The Parenthood just got added to Hulu. I was watching it. That's a funny show too.
That was a really fun, interesting experience for us. Yeah,
that one's funny.
And working with Robert Townsend. And Faison Love and those guys. It was a WB show, one of the first ones.
Yeah.
It was a similar thing. They had done 6 of them, and they fired the showrunners, and they brought us in. So it was almost the same thing as what happened with Even Stevens.
And Raven, we got a reputation as the show doctors. Raven had shot half a season, and they fired everyone, and we came in. Wow. We came in and took over.
Wow!
So that became our thing after a while.
Wow,
that's cool. Do you have anything else, Brittany? Questions wise?
But yeah, just one last random question someone had was they just wanted to know a little bit about that birdhouse scene with Donnie and Steve in Get a Job. Like everything that went into that. They had like the most random question about the birdhouse, whether it was pre-built or something. I didn't really know what they meant by that.
We had an amazing prop department. Julie Ames.
Mm-hmm. Iams, yeah.
She was a genius, and she built the birdhouse. She did the leprechaun. I went when I was shooting. That's cool. There was the dodgeball episode, and the dodgeball is coming at Lewis, and I shot the thing, and the dodgeball. We realized the dodgeball is just coming straight at him. It's not rotating. She came up with this idea to put it on a drill and turn the drill so that the ball would rotate as it heads to Lewis's head. So,
wow.
And she just had the greatest attitude. Like nothing was too hard. Nothing was, she just embraced it. She was, the whole crew really was amazing. What we did with that budget and the amount of time we had, it was, they were just stellar. They were heroic.
Oh, Julie would build robots. We'd write any crazy invention we would write. She would figure out how to make it.
The EcoBot 3000.
Right, yeah.
Right. All that to crush a can.
Yep.
I mean, really. But we used to say, you make our dreams come true, because we would dream the craziest thing, and then we'd go down to the set and Julie would have it built.
Wow.
So it was great.
That's awesome.
Do you guys know the whole pirate joke, the rockin' and the rollin'?
I'm going to call Joey Paul after this. She may have the tape of the original original audition.
That would be beautiful.
And because I'm still in touch with her, and she's still working. She works with Sean and David still all the time. I'll see if we can dig it up. Yeah,
I know there was a pirate on a ship, and it was a storm, and it was a rocking and a rolling, and a big wave came, and the pirate fell in the water, and the shark, it bit me arm off, and it had a whole...
But I forgot the punchline.
It was just great.
Yeah.
We never got to the punchline.
Because, I think that's part of why it's so funny, is that there's no punchline.
Yeah, there probably is no punchline.
We never get to
it just always fades out at the same part.
Yeah.
I know, that's all he gets.
So, just moving on to something really fun. You guys, with no prompting from us, decided to come up with your top 5 best and worst episodes of the series ranked, which is so cool because, that's keeping with, obviously, our podcast, Even Stevens ranked, staying true to that. Didn't even think to ask, the people we interview what their favorite episodes would be ranked.
Yeah.
So this is really, really cool. And I'm super excited to know where you guys are at as the showrunners and writers, how you would rank these.
Okay.
So
you want to start with the worst? Start with the worst or the best?
I think, let's start with number 5, best, and then work our way down to 1.
Okay. So number 5 best, I would say, for different reasons, not necessarily the best episode, but what it kind of represented. I loved Close Encounters of the Beans Kind.
Yes. Oh my gosh, my mom is going to be so happy.
They think Beans is an alien. And then in the end, he's an alien. And they let us do it.
Yes.
And no explanation. It just is. But just all the twists and turns and how all the pieces came together those are very hard to write. Like how do you explain the compass and this and that? And it all came together really well. And it's just the level of absurdity makes it one of my favorites.
Oh, for sure. And I think to this day, kids are still freaked out by the ending.
Yeah. The termites.
Yeah.
That was a close one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our hope, to freak you out.
I remember watching that for the very first time, and it was like, I was like, what is happening? Like, Beans is an alien? I think they maybe teased it or something in a promo, but I remember being super pumped for the episode, and they had the E.T. homage, and you guys nailed it.
Mm-hmm. And was that an intentional Titanic reference in there too, where he says like, "I'm the king of the world, Beansy," or something?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
of course.
good, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that's my favorite movie of all time. There's usually a Titanic reference in most things, so
Yes.
the fact that there is one in Even Stevens just makes me happy. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
Dennis, what's your fifth?
Strictly Ballroom.
yay!
Made me cry. It made me cry. It was so sweet that he helped her. I loved the dancing, the corny Cinderella shoe at the end, and the toilet, and I don't know. So it was just like if somebody never saw an episode, I would tell them to watch that because I think it had a little of everything, and the stories came together, which was so nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in their own world, but this one they really helped each other. It was great. It was just great.
Yeah, that was one of our favorites to talk about so far, I think, as well. We had a lot of fun with that.
That's good. So I think number 4 for me would be Leaving Stevens.
Yes!
Because just the way everything paid off, we had just come off, I think, the In Ren We Trust, and we weren't feeling that great. And because I think we were anticipating this final episode, and just the way, just the emotion of it, and the performance, and the weird part of it that I love the most. Yes, the Tony Lewis stuff, but I love the ending of the Coach Tugnutt Donnie bromance.
Yep.
And the payoff to all the 3 years of homoerotic subtext just paying off in this crazy him going and the rhythmic gymnastics, and just it just all kind of came together for me in that one.
Oh my gosh. So yes, so confirmed then. Yeah. All that subtext.
Oh, confirmed. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay.
Leaving Stevens was number 6 for me. I went up to 7, but for number 4, I love Secret World of Girls. I love that it was a guy's thing, but it was also just an adventure, And Disney, the word of the week was always good, clean fun. With nothing, like in reality, the boys would be up in the girls' bedroom.
Yeah.
Instead, we kept it clean. They just wanted to hear what girls say behind their back. And we introduced Beans. And I love that because I named him after my son was named the Bean when he was a little kid. We would call him the Bean. So when I said that, we were pitching it around. We said, how about just Beans? And it worked out great. My son Greg appreciated that.
I had that episode 6, but another great thing about that episode was Fred Savage's first directing episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he directed maybe 2 other. He did Lost Sausage, I know. They, Disney called and said, "Hey, Fred Savage wants to direct." Spoiled actor coming in. We got to give him a job. But he came down. He hung out for 2 weeks on the set with us every day. Learned everything. Was the nicest, sweetest, funniest, most genuine guy. We became good friends. We played poker together. So that episode is memorable for that too.
Awesome.
Yeah, that episode's amazing. To me, the steak when I was a kid, I was like, I still watch it and I stress out that he's going to get caught. And oh my gosh, it's so stressful.
Beans,
I love it.
Beans being lowered on a rope is one of my favorite. while the girls have cucumbers on their eyes, he's being low and he's grabbing snacks.
Yep.
I love
But
that.
also, just to go back to Sausage, just another favorite Beans moment is when he's moving the dirt from the tunnel and they fill his pockets. Yeah. His pants.
Yeah.
Pants, yeah.
Giant pants.
That's awesome.
So what are we up to? Number 3?
Oh, 3.
Right, 3. For me, it's Influenza.
Mm-hmm.
The musical, it was groundbreaking for us. It was fun to do. Stretching the actors. Shia singing and dancing. He was very, very insecure about it, and he was great. And working with Jim Wise, who wrote the music, and it was just a really fun experience. The whole episode kind of was very positive for me. Good one.
For number 3, I had Heck of a Hanukkah, which was funny because every show we've ever worked on, the network says, are you going to do a Christmas show? And they're always the same. So we said, in real life, Shia has a Jewish mom, a Christian dad. Let's make that the family. And we loved It's a Wonderful Life, so we used that. But I loved seeing the characters out of character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ren with her motorcycle boyfriend, Donnie, insecure with his first grade spelling bee trophy, and it was just fun. And then we got that kid to play the new kid in the house.
Yep, Chris Marquette.
Twisted, yeah, he was terrific. Just a good twist on the whole series. So I always loved that one.
No, for sure.
That's a good one. I wish they played it more. Back in the day, they didn't. They only played it during
the
holiday time.
That's the problem with holiday episodes. Yeah, you don't get a lot of the residuals are not great on those.
Yeah,
that's true.
I always thought that was probably based a little bit on Shia's own family.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 2?
Yes, number 2.
All right, this one will be controversial because I disagree with you very strongly on this one.
Wait, you disagree with both of us?
I don't know whose list I printed out. I think I printed out yours, Brittany. Rengate.
Oh.
You have it pretty low. You have it like in the 50s, I think.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite episodes because the level of absurdity really came together in that episode. I love the hall patrol, the ceremony in the basement, the south hallway, but also the elevator is one of my favorite things with Shorty. Like, there's a guy from the 20s, like,
yes.
Out of nowhere. He's going, hey, what do you say? What do you know?
That actor went on to be the vice principal on Phil of the Future.
Yes, yeah, he was in a lot of things. I forget his name, but he was a very funny guy.
It's like JP Mon.
Yes, JP Mon something.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that how Ren got corrupted, that it was really about something. It was political. We took on a theme that most kid shows wouldn't do. Seeing another side of Lewis, seeing him get corrupted the other way. I just like the way that episode came together. Neil Israel directed that, and he directed a couple of episodes for us. And, Neil's a very funny guy and a good friend. So I would rank that as 2.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't, like, I try to explain this, like, all the time. It's not that I don't like any of my lower ranked episodes. It's just, like you said, the way you guys really pushed the absurdity and maybe like surrealness and stuff, that's part of my disconnect when that stuff goes maybe a little too far. So that's probably why it's a little lower.
Yes, totally get it.
Even my lower ones, I mean, it's like I said, it's my favorite show. I hold this show at the highest regard. So even the lower episodes on my list, I still am nostalgic and look at it fondly. And yeah,
we love them all. We just love some more than others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like my kids.
Exactly.
Number 2, I had Band on the Roof. I just love it. I just thought it was so cool that we pulled it off, and that the song on the roof was good. I like the song on the roof. I like when they all sang together, and I loved when they did the background and the harmony, and it was just great shooting out there and looking down, and I just, when it all came together, I just felt great. And Tom's ridiculous documentary, and it was just great. I loved it.
And that was my number 1. So
yes,
oh
you kind of covered it. I agree with you. Everything just came together in that episode.
Yay!
It really worked.
I feel so validated. Thank you.
I'm happy to validate you.
Yeah.
Well, my number 1, sorry, Brittany, was Influenza. I just loved it. I could watch it over and over. I could sing the songs. I mean, Marc and I had to embrace our guy side and also our feminine side. So we do love musicals. And I don't know if that's necessarily feminine, but I just love that whole thing, just seeing them out of their element, dancing, singing, the choreography, and the songs were solid, real show tunes.
Yeah.
And you guys are both from New York too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's in you anyway.
Broadway.
Broadway out there. So
we love Broadway.
Yeah. To work on the show, I mean, that's probably like one of the biggest accomplishments, is to put together something so different like that, like a musical episode.
Mm-hmm.
For a kid's audience too. I mean,
we went into the recording studio and we really worked on these songs and had them sing it over and over till it sounded right. Yeah. So we put a lot of energy into that. Mm-hmm. But it's in your top 20, Brittany, so we're okay with that.
I have it slightly lower, but just because I wasn't as big of a musical fan growing up. And I love every episode, I'm telling you. But yeah, I just
That's
have it a little
good.
lower. That's all.
We do too.
So Dennis, you said you went up to 7. What did you have at 7?
Pookie. Where in the world is Pookie?
Oh, that's your mom loves that one, Brittany.
That makes me cry when he gives her that, and he stays in his room. And she screams, and the family runs in, and just him smiling in the bed that he did a good thing for his sister, it makes me cry. It's so sweet.
That's one of my favorite Lewis moments.
So it's a great moment.
That smile Shia gives is so genuine.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah, and that's my mom's favorite episode. So
Yeah, I did love that.
so she'll be happy.
You guys have any other? I don't know what. Oh, Mark, what did your list went up to 6?
I had Lost Sausage, which we talked about a little bit also.
That's a good one.
Again, the absurdity. I go more to the absurd ones, the stuff they let us do.
Yeah.
But also the bonding between Lewis and Steve in that one was special. And I love Tom Virtue. I love giving him a chance to shine. A lot of really stupid jokes, the Donnie's voiceover when he's actually there and the clock turning and just silly.
That was genius, though. I loved that part.
That was great.
So good.
Gotta get that fixed.
When we were working on Fast Times with Amy Heckling, she would call it good stupid. It's stupid, but there's some basis, there's some thematic soundness to it, like Spicoli. He's good stupid. So just looking for that level is always fun.
What was great about Tom Virtue? I mean, you would think nobody likes a dad who screams. But with him, it was always so funny, and coming from love, Louis, you just loved him. You never were angry at him, or you never felt he was mean. He was not mean.
No,
He was just frustrated to be a dad to that kid.
Well, yeah, I was saying his screaming was very justified. So
Yes, yeah.
Kid show parents, it's very thankless for an actor, very hard. And Donna was great also, just portraying, just the sense of humor and how much she loved the kids and how much she appreciated, even when they were crazy, she just appreciated them. She got them. Unappreciated in terms of walking that line, that parent line of being real and being a believable parent, but also putting out a good performance and being funny. And she did a beautiful job.
yeah,
They had an excuse to nag at Lewis, but they weren't naggy, but they were, they were firm with him though, and they were really good at that.
Yeah, I mean, even when they're calling in the hazmat, the hazmat squad to clean out his room, she's just here we go again,
Yeah.
I was just quoting that episode the other day because one of my favorite lines is that's the Shutterbug, right?
Yes, I think it might have been might have shown up in a couple of episodes actually, but yeah, it was. Yeah,
I love the line where Donna says, "Louis, how many times have I told you not to leave leftover sushi under your bed?" And he goes, "I know, I'm sorry. There are so many rules in this house. It's hard to keep them all straight."
He always had excuses.
but that's a specific rule. Like, don't put sushi under your bed. It's like
Exactly. There's so many rules. I'm sorry. That's just not something you just don't do.
That's love it.
I'm curious about the bottom 5 now.
Oh yeah, I know. Moving on. Yeah, I almost forgot. Right, bottom 5.
So the bottom, immediately eliminate the ones before we were there. So I won't I won't judge those, and I'll just go really fast on these. But in Ren We Trust, worst, just on so many levels.
So that's your number one worst?
That's my number one worst.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Mine too.
Were our names on that as the writers? Are we writers on that one?
Both of you. It's the only one that both of you are credited.
Has both our names on it.
They made sure.
What were we thinking?
And David. I think David Kendall directed that one. I think. Yeah, and even he was saying we knew it as we were doing it. We knew it was bad. We just, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
What were we thinking?
I'm so glad we're on the same page with that one, though.
This orphan kid, from Boys Town in the 30s or something, Spencer Tracy, and the cardboard pants, or I don't know. There were just so many bad choices. But so anyway, yeah. That one didn't work.
Banjo. What was the banjo band?
Oh yeah, the bluegrass band torturing Lewis, like
Bluegrass band. That's what.
And
it
then
was,
like Beans had like a pony that was pooping, walking through the school.
I
was like, what is happening? It was
terrible.
Right, yeah. We might have been checked out at that point. I don't know. They were probably already boxing up the studio. And
right. Oh my gosh. So that's your worst as well, Dennis, yeah?
Yeah. And then I just looked this morning, and when I saw our names as writers, I said, "What happened to us?"
I didn't even rewatch it. Honestly, I just yeah. But maybe I will now, just
for the badness.
For the badness.
So I guess we're going backwards now. So
we'll go backwards.
Two.
Then my next would be Duck Soup.
Ethan!
No way!
Yes!
I love Duck Soup.
Did you love Duck Soup?
It's one of my favorites.
It drove me crazy.
I love Chef Pierre. I used to talk like him.
Oh no!
When I was a kid.
Yeah, I just could not. The overacting, it just was so grating. And then we had the duck. Plus, it was an adult story, which the adult stories usually aren't that much fun. But then we had we had this duck, right? And we had a live duck. But for a couple of the shots, we had to have a duck, like it bites Ren's nose or something. Mm-hmm. So they said, let's get an animatic duck. It's Disney, right? They'll build so they go out $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a duck, for an animatic duck. We said, we can't do it. Sean us, I got a guy. He can do anything. So he comes in with this duck and says, all right, the duck has to bite Ren's nose. And he's got some kind of air pump, and he's pumping like up and down like a pneumatic drill, like for 20 minutes, pumping. And then the duck's beak just opens like a 1/4 inch, and that was it. That whole production-wise, it was a pain in the neck, and the story was like, who cares about whether her dinner is successful? I don't know. So I ranked that low.
We did laugh of the ridiculous that there were, 72 fast food duck places in Sacramento.
Yeah. Duck and Donuts? Best part.
Out of duck. Every place was out of duck for some reason. But that chef screaming, faces. It was, that was a little over the top. Although we've gone over the top before.
I love that episode.
So your number 2 worst, Dennis?
Your toast.
Yes.
I like that one.
What was all that spinning? All that spinning was ridiculous. Spinning around, catching time. I don't know what happened there. What was I thinking?
I think I just love it because it's so hokey. And then the Lewis plot is really great with that drummer, the guy who's like kind of maybe British or Australian or something.
Right. Yeah.
I love that storyline, and then I just love the hokiness of the spinning and the Jason Marsden stuff. And
see, this is what's so funny, how we're so different. I have your toast at 62, and I think Ethan has it at like 12.
I have it in my top 10.
I agree with Ethan. I have it somewhere in the like 20-ish or something. Okay. I would say I like that episode. So. I'm okay with it.
I did like when the Squirrelli would peek out from that tile.
Yeah.
Peek out to see what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a couple of, and I love the line when the drum teacher says, you ever hear of a little band called Kiss?
Yes.
He goes, yeah. Well, my band opened for them in Modesto.
That's my favorite line. If I had to pick a favorite line from that episode, that's it.
I love that.
Oh, man. I love that episode.
But was that, just a quick question about that, that was really part of this little arc of like Lewis wanting to be a musician now. Was that, where did that come from? Was that something, because it looks like Shia really played the drums.
He was learning the drums. He was into it.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it. So we wrote to that. Mm-hmm. Things like that. I mean, for example, we heard that Fred Myers was a real black belt in karate.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said, oh my God. And we called him up. He said, is it true? He said, yeah, he did a couple of moves for us that was shocking. So we said, wouldn't it be funny if Fred has to save Lewis from a bully, Fred the nerd? And it was fun to feature that. You never know where it's going to come from.
Yeah, I love that. So wait, so who's now? You're 3, Mark?
3, I guess. 3? Family Picnic. I don't know. I can't say much about it.
I know, that's me too. That's my last, but it's not my least favorite, but I just thought it was like probably like the slowest of all of them. It just kind of felt a little emptier.
Yeah, it wasn't really about anything, and I'm just saying it wasn't a special episode. It wasn't inspired.
Yeah.
You know, the best stuff we did, we had some kind of inspiration, some absurdity, or some great character moment, or some heart, and it just, I don't know, it didn't seem real.
Yeah.
Because weren't you saying, Dennis, didn't you say that was like a leftover script from the Eric Van Lowe time, or Matt had it or something like that?
Yes. When we got there and starting fresh, Matt did have a script that he wrote in the earlier group, and he said, let's give it a shot. And we made it fun as we could, but it didn't have the new energy we were trying to put in. It was a little flat, but it was okay. I didn't like seeing Lewis cheating. Yeah. It was pretty cold. He usually is a little more creative than just, I mean, like he'll mess up Donnie's pommel horse just to get a laugh, but he wouldn't cheat just to win a contest.
Yeah.
So did we get to your number 3, Dennis? Was it?
Dennis.
I had the same one, Family Picnic.
Family Picnic.
It was just a little flat.
So my number 2 worst, however we're going, is...
Well, I think is it 4?
Oh, 4, yeah, right,
4.
Was Uncle Chuck.
Whoa, really?
I can see that.
I love Richard Kind, and I did a play. Richard Kind came, he did the reading for me. I played poker with Richard. I love Richard. I love his acting. He's hilarious, but this was just not really, I don't know. Again, maybe because it was an adult episode, not my favorite.
I get it.
Well, if you remember what happened with that, we had cast an actor who looked like
Tom Virtue.
Yeah.
Tom Virtue. He looked like Tom Virtue. He sounded like Tom Virtue, but he was like a flaky Tom Virtue. We said, this guy's perfect because he looks like a upstanding guy, but he's going to turn out to be a flake. And Disney said, we don't want that guy. No one ever heard of him. How about a guy with a bigger name?
Okay.
Yeah, we really like that guy, but they wanted to go with a more well-known, who I love, but he was miscast. He didn't feel like a Stevens.
Yeah, I have Uncle Chuck at 57, so
okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I like it because I like to me it kind of a little bit justifies some of Lewis's personality in a sense, because it's like, okay, like there's somebody in his family who is kind of, I mean, obviously Uncle Chuck's like a way worse person than Lewis, but there's some stuff there that, you can see Lewis might have admired and picked up on, but at the end of the day, he's still kind of, he goes towards his dad, and it's a good moment between them at the end. I like that too.
Yeah. It's a cliche story, kind of. It's not the most inspired story where somebody comes along, you think he's cooler than your dad, then you realize your dad is really cooler. Where I thought we did it more interestingly was when Steve and Tom Grabowski bond over golf.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
And Lewis feels left out. I felt that was more emotional. And
they took dialogue from that episode and used it in Honey Boy.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Wow. Oh. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. It's the scene where the TV father tells Otis that he loves him, but before that, when they sit down for the dinner, definitely reworked some of that dialogue, which is really interesting that they did that.
Yeah.
And the themes are kind of similar, too, from the episode to Honey Boy a little bit.
Yeah.
Father-son.
Right, yeah.
Leave it to you to pick that up.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, very good.
Gosh. So wait, you're number 4?
And my last one, number 5. Well, this is the last one, I think.
I'm losing track.
Because one of them was the same.
Oh, no, maybe there's more.
I think, no?
Oh, yeah, one was the same. Thin Ice for me was thin. I think what happened was we thought the idea of a funny hypochondriac would be a great character.
Yeah.
And it just, when we saw it, it wasn't funny. Not that Gary Leroy Gray it was his fault. He was a great kid and a sweet character, but the concept just wasn't funny, and it just, to me, it kind of fell flat. And it kind of ruined that episode.
I can see that.
That wasn't our best work, yeah.
Yeah, I have it at 40, so it's just kind of chilling in the middle.
And then my 5th is Tight End in Traction.
Yes! Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Again, I have that at 60.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, just not a memorable episode. Just silly, just too silly.
yeah.
Yeah.
The head on the body, it worked in one shot. There was one shot where you could actually think it's believable, but otherwise...
Yes.
I did like that one part that always used to make me laugh. I still get a laugh out of it, where he's like, Donnie's got a good head on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sit down, Donnie's body.
That was good. I did laugh at that. And my last one, and this is only because I didn't think we pulled it off, Shutterbugged with Ren in the cheeks. It just drove me crazy that the cheeks didn't look right, especially when she went outside. It looked like she just put some clay on there. And it's only because we didn't have money for like good prosthetics to really make it look real. So it just ruined that episode for me. I was just so upset.
I thought that looked okay, actually.
Yeah.
For what it was. Yeah. That didn't bother
I
me.
think you could only really see it up close. You could kind of see the makeup job, but I think that one's really memorable.
That's a good one.
A Ren thing that was very memorable.
Oh, the look, yeah. I kept thinking the audience is going to think it's so fake.
Oh no!
Yeah, I think we had a sense. I think I had a sense of just like, okay, it's obviously it's makeup, so I think you just kind of accept it. I guess
You went with it.
Yeah.
You went with it. All right. I'm taking it off the list.
Wow.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for doing that, guys. That was really cool.
Sure.
Yeah, that was so
that's fun.
cool.
That was
like
fun.
I think this should be a thing now. Anyone else we have on, I think they gotta revisit the show and rank it.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, you really, because a lot of this stuff I hadn't thought about in, almost 20 years. So it was really fun going back and rewatching the episodes. And it was the most fun show we've ever worked on. I think we both agree. It was our favorite work experience. So thank you guys for keeping it alive.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, we love doing it.
Giving it new life.
Yeah. Hope so.
Well, we are fans of the podcast. We listen. We laugh when you laugh. We love your analysis of it.
Oh.
I had told Brittany, you guys would have fit in perfectly in the writer's room because the way you analyze the jokes is exactly how we would do it.
That'd have been a dream.
That is genuinely like the biggest compliment we could ever get.
No, seriously,
that
yeah,
is just absolutely amazing.
That's really cool. Thank you.
That's cool, guys.
Yeah. Do you anything you guys want to plug or any final thoughts?
No, I mean,
about the show?
I think we pretty much covered everything, I mean, the thing, as going back and watching them, a lot of it is like home movies for me. Like I see my son in a couple of episodes, who's a musician now. Maybe you know him, Ethan, the Mowglis. You know the Mowglis? You're an LA musician guy. Yeah. I definitely know the names like I've mentioned before. Yeah, Andy Warren. He's a drummer. Oh, so, cool. Yeah. But
wait, was he wasn't Andy Blaine, is he? No. Well, he was Andy because we named the drummer Andy. But there was an episode, the first one, Boy on a Rock. It was Boy on a Rock. Mm-hmm. And Tugnut is getting a donut, or he's getting bribed by Tom. And there's a kid at the beginning of the scene. And Tugnut says, how you doing, Swoboda? And he rubs his head. That's my son. That's Andy. He's Swoboda. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Totally.
We also used a lot of old Mets names. I used to like to throw in Swoboda and Cranepool and Shamsky, like Mets from the 60s. Yeah. So. Mm-hmm.
Oh, also, speaking of names, Coach Tugnut. Yeah. Matt used the name of a Canadian hockey player named Ron Tugnut. Oh my gosh! So he wasn't trying to slip anything by. Although Tom Grabowski was kind of in honor of Coach Tugnut, we did give him that name. But Tugnut was a hockey player, Canadian hockey player.
I know you guys weren't around at the beginning of the series, but do you know where the name Lewis originated by chance? If you guys remember, anyone telling you?
No, that I don't know.
Because Matt couldn't remember.
Yeah, the original, when they gave us this pilot script, or one of the scripts, early scripts, the name of the show was Cain and Mabel.
Oh.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were trying different names.
Before it was even Stevens, we got a script that says Cain and Mabel. So maybe those were their original names, were Cain and Mabel. I don't know.
Like that's my next band name.
At some point. Cain and Mabel, yeah.
I have one more question. So Andy Blaine, did he not talk because it was like a payroll thing, or was it just more funny to have him be like the quiet guy.
Payroll.
Payroll.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's what I figured. I didn't know though. It's funny. I love that he doesn't talk. I think it's hilarious. But
A lot of decisions were economic.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Gotcha.
On that note, I guess, wow, yeah, this has been super, super fun. I knew this was going to be fun. This was our first interview with 4 people on it as well. And so, I knew that was going to be interesting. But yeah, you guys, just thank you so much.
This was super cool. Thank you guys for, taking the time.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And as I said, we appreciate you guys keeping the show alive and digging deep. And so thank you. It was a lot of fun for us.
Cool.
I can't wait to hear more episodes.
Yeah, can't wait to do it.
Thank you so much. We can't wait to go into season 2 now. It's going to be interesting. So we're glad we got to talk to you guys before that. So it'll be.
Thank you guys.
Go easy on us, Brittany, in season 2. Go easy on us.
I will. Again, everything we say comes from a deep place of admiration and love for the show, and anything remotely critical is always coming from a place of, that just we just love it so much that we.
Yeah, I rather watch like my last place episode of Even Stevens than an episode of anything else, pretty much. So, yeah.
Well, that's why we love you guys.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Take care. And if you have any questions or a follow up, just let us know. We're happy to help out.
Yeah, definitely.
Will do.
Anytime.
Cool.
All right.
Take care.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was our interview with head writers and producers Marc Warren and Dennis Rinsler. I feel like that could not have gone better.
That was amazing. I mean, those were the two, like we always say, they're heavy hitters, and those are the guys you want to tell stories. And they remembered pretty much everything that we were referencing.
Yeah. I absolutely love that they thought to rank their top 5 best and worst.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that with everybody else
from now on. That has to be a thing now.
Kind of have to go back and look at the episodes and see which ones stand out. Yeah,
and it was interesting to see where we lined up, which and where we didn't line up, maybe
a couple. Yeah, like family. They had Family Picnic in the bottom, and then they also had. What was the one they had one that I like, Duck Soup. I love Duck Soup. They did have both of them had Secret World of Girls in their top 6.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I have that at number 2.
I know, but you don't like that episode. I thought you just did.
I mean, I don't like, but I mean, like, I can understand why people would have it.
I got you. That's true. You do have it. You have a number 2. That's a good point. I was just like in my head, I think of it as like you not liking it, so I always forget you have it at actually number 2. Yeah.
But anyway, that was
cool. That was super cool that they did a top 5, and like we got to talk about it, like why they liked it, why they didn't like it, because like the first part of the interview, we weren't really talking. We were talking about episodes, but kind of just like intermixed. But then that kind of forced us to talk about specific episodes and scenarios, and and Ren We Trust was both of those.
I know. I'm so glad though. I'm so glad that they can also see that is a mess.
They said, "What were we thinking?"
That's definitely a nice feeling there.
Yeah,
just to know that that we are on the same page with a lot of stuff with the people who worked on it. That's just really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, wow, this was so great, so fun. Huge thank you to Marc and Dennis for coming on the podcast. Amazing conversation. We hope you guys enjoyed listening. I mean, there are definitely things that we learned from this conversation, so we hope you guys got a lot out of it as well.
Cain and Mabel.
I know, Cain and Mabel.
It's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, can't get enough of these. They're always fun.
They're always fun. And on to season 2.
On to season 2. Yep. So thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Follow on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, evenstevensrank.com. Send us an email. Send us a voicemail. Either call the number in the description or send us a voice memo to evenstevensranked@gmail.com. We'd love to have your voice on the podcast with us. And I think that'll just about do it. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next season.
See ya.